training for that
Yeah.
was my escape, really. Bit of a brawl with the good old Sussex police.
Yeah.
And yeah, was handcuffed, thrown in the back of an ambulance and taken to a psychiatric hospital. I had a seizure, and at the time I was on a medication.
You signed up for a marathon
Well, yeah.
with your backpack.
And for some reason, the search just pulled up this thing called the fan dance. I had no idea what the fan dance.
And then we both sort of found the outdoors.
But what I would suggest is stay overnight at the bothy,
Yeah.
get up early, and then get to the memorial for sunrise.
Yeah.
That
sounds amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, just here with Gareth de la Torre, author of What the Ruck Just Happened, a book I've just read. And I'm just talking about a trek that we're planning on doing. When are we planning on doing this, Gareth?
I always think that winter in Scotland is a bit more exciting
Yeah.
than battling the midges in summer.
Brilliant. So we're just kicking some ideas around. So today we are doing the Box Hill tab, which is in Surrey. Where you live?
I actually live in Sussex, but but we're kind of quite close to the border here.
You grew up in? Did you grow up in Sussex?
Well, I grew up predominantly in Sussex.
Yeah.
But I started my life in Germany as an army brat. My dad was in the Queen's Royal Irish Hussars, which was a tank regiment, and so I was born in Paderborn.
Right.
And then we moved to the well-known big barracks at Tidworth. And then my parents divorced, and then I ended up in where my mum's family comes from, in Horsham, which is West Sussex.
We both went through divorce. We both went through some shit in our 40s, and then we both sort of found the outdoors and tabbing and ruck marching to be something that had a transformative effect. But before I get ahead of ourselves, what happened to you, Gareth, in your 40s that sort of changed your life? Yeah, put your life upside down.
Well, I think really what happened was I was married with 2 kids.
Yeah.
You know, I was that typical 2.4 children kind of family scenario, you know, and I just became this person that I would detest today.
Right.
Really. I wasn't a great husband, and therefore by default you're kind of labelled a bad father as well, and just spiralled out of control. Really was just more very selfish, just was really only concerned with my own happiness and ignored the happiness of my family.
Yeah.
And eventually that, you know, with me just being an idiot, that just caused the destruction really of that marriage. And you know, and rightly so, my wife wanted a divorce, really.
Yeah.
And at the time, I mean, I totally regret some of the stuff now, but at the time I wasn't bothered.
Yeah. Bloody hell. And then, of course, about 6 years ago, something else happened, and obviously I've read the book, so I know what it is, but...
I had this real bizarre accident at home.
Right.
Where I fell and banged my head really hard, you know, hard enough to kind of knock myself out. And I then started experiencing blackouts, and eventually was diagnosed with uncontrollable epilepsy.
Bloody hell.
Which was quite a difficult kind of thing to deal with, really, actually. Because when you're in your mid-40s, you still think you're indestructible, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
well, I still do.
Yeah. So then kind of spiraled into depression, anxiety, didn't want to leave the house. I was struggling to sort of come to terms with this. You know, I'd met someone and was getting me remarried, so that was all happening at the same time. And yeah, overnight I went from a really successful career guy and in consultative selling to, you know, just couldn't get off the sofa, really.
Yeah.
I've been signed permanently off work.
And you've been, and obviously diagnosed, yeah, with epilepsy, as you say, yeah.
So I was never very sympathetic to people that had mental health issues.
Right.
I didn't recognise it as an illness when I was of that. I'm of that same generation as you, where men don't talk about their feelings. They, you know, they bottle it all up. You know, and it's almost seen as a sign of weakness. You know, I was kind of that stiff upper lip, keep going, kind of thing. And if anyone ever said, "Oh, you know, I've got mental health issues," I would just dismiss it as, we're a bit weak then, really. Yeah. Kind of learned the hard way, you know, through my own experiences. So I was going through all of this. I mean, basically what happened is it culminated in me trying to take my own life.
Wow.
Trying to hang myself off a door handle.
Jesus.
Which fortunately I failed at.
Yeah, no, I have a friend who sadly succeeded, so I know that is, that is a serious, let me put it this way, that will kill you. I mean, it certainly can. And
it's, so after a run-in with Sussex police one night, I ended up being sectioned and spent the night in a psychiatric hospital, and I think that was really the turning point where I decided that I really need to get a grip of this now and start trying to turn my life around, although at the time I didn't really know how I was going to do that.
And just hold on for a second. So because these are some massive live events that you're describing here. So you literally went from being a successful salesperson, literally getting enterprise deals of multiple millions per year in, driving the Mercedes, wearing the Rolex, to being in the back of a police car getting sectioned.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. So what happened then?
So basically I had a seizure, and at the time I was on a medication that after I would come out of a seizure I'd sort of sleepwalk. Yeah. So I ended up walking around my local woods where my grandparents used to live. Yeah. Which is where I would always head to on these like little kind of adventures that I wasn't really sure of what I was doing. Yeah. You know, by then I'd remarried. My wife at the time, you know, called my mum. They went out looking, and cut a long story short, as I came out of this post-ictal stage of the seizure, I walked back, started heading home, and there was an ambulance and police cars and all of that waiting for me, and it was decided there, for my own protection or the protection of others, that I would need to be, you know, psychologically evaluated and was sectioned. I obviously didn't want to be sectioned, and I didn't go quietly and took off across the football field and ended up in a bit of a brawl with the good old Sussex police. Yeah. And was handcuffed, thrown in the back of an ambulance and taken to a psychiatric hospital, which I have to say was an absolute harrowing experience. Yes.
No, I can certainly imagine. Just taking a moment here to take into view, which is apt, because it's here in the outdoors that, well, actually both of us, for different reasons, found a transformative effect. Yeah. How did that take place for you, Gareth?
Well, I mean, growing up in Sussex, I kind of had, you know, I liken it to having a bit of a Huckleberry Finn childhood, you know, in my kind of like early teens, where we'd go down to our local forest and camp and, you know, fish, and it was, I think what happened was because I was spending a lot of time at home, I started delving into like YouTube, because I'd watched everything on Netflix, and just found this whole world of wild camping. Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as wild camping or stealth camping or van camping. It was just all camping. It just kind of triggered this kind of like, oh, you know, retrospective look back at my childhood, and I just thought I just really used to enjoy that, and so I decided on a whim that that's what I was going to do. I didn't want to be seen as a patient anymore. I wanted to be seen as a person, and so on a whim, that's what I did, and started wild camping, created a YouTube channel like all of the content creators I was following, and that's kind of how it kind of evolved, really.
And that's amazing, because the thing is, whilst you've mentioned it to me, so Gareth and I have known each other for probably almost a year. We've actually done this tab before. I've started my channel sort of 4 months ago now, but it's only yesterday from reading your book that I started looking it up, and I mean 2,000 subscribers. How many, like 150 videos, give or take?
Well, I think so. A lot of those are shorts, but yeah.
It's a fantastic, so link will be in the description. But that was yet another thing that I realised you and I have in common, of discovering the love for the outdoors and then wanting to share it with others. In terms of outdoor events, and again, interesting, I think the second event I did was fan dance. But you discovered the fan dance as an outdoors event, didn't you, Gareth?
Yeah, so I basically, what happened was I was doing these YouTube videos of just going wild camping.
Yeah.
I'd planned a trip to Scotland hiking with a friend of mine, and so I just started training for this hike and was walking around doing 10-mile loops of the local woods, and just, you know, making sure that I was fit enough to be able to, because obviously I have to take into consideration my epilepsy as well. So I felt as the fitter I can be, the less chance I think I would have in my mind of having a seizure.
Brilliant. Yeah, so, physical robustness, mental robustness, it's all connected.
Yeah, so, and I was doing this, and what I'd actually also been doing is I've been reading the books about the fated Bravo SAS mission.
Yeah, Bravo 20.
Yeah. And I read the book by Andy McNabb, Bravo 20, and the other book by I think it's called Soldier 5, and the name escapes me now, but I read that, and then I read Chris Ryan's book, the one that got away.
Yeah.
Which then I was then kind of researching, I wonder what other books are about. And for some reason, the search just pulled up this thing called the fan dance. I had no idea what the fan dance was. Yeah. So I started reading this, event that goes on a couple of times a year in South Wales on the Penavant mountain. Yeah. And as I was reading it, I was like, wow, this is like part of the SAS selection course. This must be really tough. Yeah. And I looked at the pictures of the snake line of people heading up to the summit of Penavant and all of this kind of thing. And I thought, wow, is this open to the public? And then I hadn't even got to the bottom of the advert, and I'd signed up for like the £35 load bearing in the following June.
And this was 21, 22?
This was...
I think we might. If we did the
2022.
And the summer one.
It was the summer one in 2022.
I think I did my first one that winter before.
Right.
But same sort of period anyway. Yeah.
So that then kick-started this new kind of regime of training, learning how to run with a pack on.
Yeah.
And the byproduct of that was, Ferdy, it was bloody difficult. Yeah. I won't lie to you.
No, I've done it, of course. How many times I've done it? To 10 times plus,
like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But I persevered, and I found in that, I have to run quite often really early in the morning because I take my medication at 8 o'clock, and my medication always leaves me a bit woozy. So I have to run really early to get back for 8 o'clock. And I just found in those early morning rucks that I kind of discovered this way of taking pain that I was feeling in that moment, converting it into an experience that I had that maybe I hadn't processed earlier on, and attaching some kind of physical attribute to it.
And it's actually very apt, because we've just arrived at Surrey's answer to Jacob's Ladder, which is probably as close to the Jacob's Ladder as we get here. So this is great. Talking about sort of pushing through mentally, that's exactly what we're about to do.
Yeah, so I was taking a physical thing that happened to me.
Yes.
You know, like the breakup of my marriage and all of that. Well, at the time I didn't really care, and then attributing like a physical pain to it. And that really helped, and that kind of pushed me on and pushed me on and pushed me on, and that's how this love of this kind of, I say, sport really. You know, got me hooked.
Brilliant. Another thing I really picked up on in your reading your book is your relationship with stubbornness. And the reason I recognise that is, I remember early on somebody asked me sort of, why do you do these events, or find your why, and I realised I'm not sure I have a why. I sort of just love dialing into my inner stubbornness, because in our day-to-day life, you know, with office jobs and meetings, and everyone's got their own role, and it's brilliant, you know, we have to make concessions, and rightly so, to be a good team player. But what I like is that about the mountains is I can dial into this stubbornness and say, you know, the mountain's trying to not get me, you know, it's trying to stop me getting up it, and I can be as stubborn as I bloody well like. So I've always, since doing this event, realised that I'm actually tapping into an inner stubbornness, and that's what allows me to push on. So I was amazed to read you talking about stubbornness as well in your book, and talk a little bit about your sort of, you describe it as a two-edged sword from what I read.
Me, it's like, I've always been selfish and stubborn, and it's a double-edged sword, because sometimes it will push you beyond anything that you believe you're capable of doing. But then on time, sometimes it can be really detrimental to personal relationships, working relationships, even your own relationship with yourself. So at the end of the book, I do say I thank the part of me that doesn't want to give up. But it is like the yin and yang. You know, you have to take both sides for it to kind of really work.
No, that's very true. You have to get to know yourself. I'm one of that small group of people that is best staying off the booze, and so I like what you say about getting to know yourself again. I really recognise I had to get to know the sober me. It was actually the real me, without always trying to hide from it by intoxicating myself.
I think what happened was I ended up hating myself for so long. It was hard to try and turn that around. It was, you know, because prior to doing the fan dance the previous year, my second wife left me, and I blamed myself for that.
So this is after your diagnosis? Man, that must have been tough. You've been diagnosed, well, and that left you on your own.
I just found myself in this position of, like the front of the book says, I lost everything basically.
Now, am I right too? Because you don't really talk about it in the book until I got to the very end. Do you have a dog in that period?
Yes,
mate. Mate, that was the one bit where, I just welled up right by the end, where you talk about where you pay tribute to your dog, who's sadly no longer with us.
So he sadly had to be put down about a year ago.
Oh, they're such. I love dogs. I've got a dog, and it's just.
It was an English bulldog. Real character. Not the sort of dog that you would take out on a hike. Didn't like to go walking. So, it was, that's all I had really. So.
Well, and it's a great friend to have. I know that from experience, yeah.
It was quite a lonely time really, that period.
And how long did that, well, clearly very dark chapter, where you diagnosed with epilepsy, people had tried to get you sectioned, you're in the back of ambulances, back of police cars, you're, and then your second wife leaves you. How long were you in that, what can only be described as a hole?
Well, then after that I kind of discovered, you know, the fan dance, and kind of, I guess, training for that was my escape really, taking all of that negativity that was happening in my life and feeling it physically out on the trails.
Well, you're in good nick, I'll give you that, Gareth. You've just gone up there. That steep climb. This is an 8-miler. So it's I watch a lot of Instagram reels and all of this, and you know, fitness experts and guys that are motivational. But what I've actually learned is you can be inspired, but nobody's going to get out there and run for you. No, indeed.
You know, it's all down to you. I say it in the book. There's no hero who's going to come and save you. You have to be your own hero in your own story.
Yes.
So, you know, it's difficult, and I subscribe to ex-Navy SEALs take on it all, Jocko Willicks.
Yeah.
It's not motivation that gets you out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's discipline.
Yes.
If it was left to motivation, I don't think I'd do anything.
No, and that's, I have a video, it's one of my early ones, about how you can get fit, or whatever I called it. But I start with, I totally recognise that, but once I decided to take on alcohol, and basically I recognise it's a bad habit, you know, without, you know, leaving aside all the dramatic words and you know, whether it's someone alcoholic or not, it was clearly a bad habit, and I wanted to quit it. So that means not doing something that I often felt like doing. Then when I actually started to succeed, as a bonus, I noticed that this mental muscle started growing, and I noticed that in getting better at not doing something I felt like doing, I was also getting better at doing stuff I don't feel like doing. So not doing stuff I feel like doing, doing stuff I don't feel like doing. For me, that's the same muscle, and I believe it's the prefrontal cortex, but it's, for me, and that was one of the, only the last sort of 3 years that really sunk in. What we're doing now, it's not just training our muscles, it's also that training that mental discipline muscle, which I love to break down in that way. Whenever you don't feel like doing something good, that's an opportunity to keep training that muscle. If you stop training it, it will get weak, like any muscle. Yeah. Feel like doing something where you know you'd better not. That could be have that third croissant, or, you know, order takeaway when you know you're just too bloody lazy to sort yourself out.
There's lots of things that I've watched that kind of, I guess, inspire, not motivate, but inspire you to be your own success story. Yeah. Obviously, you know, the thing that really got me was I watched I think it was a keynote speech of a ex-Navy SEAL. I'm not sure if he'd retired, I think he probably had, who basically said the first thing that you should do every morning is make your bed. Yeah, oh, it's McGraven. That sounds like Admiral McGraven. Yeah, he is sort of retired. And I still do that now, because no matter how bad the day is, you'll always get back into a freshly made bed. Yeah, lovely. And once you start doing it, it becomes a habit. Yeah. You know? I like to think I'm a better person now through all that I've experienced. I've only ever known the Gareth 2.0, so I can certainly attest to that.
But by the way, another thing that struck me is where you talked that once you were in the bad times, how it impacted your perception of time. And I think you describe it as time unraveled, where you'd remember individual events, but you lost the time in between and it just seemed to go in a flash. And
yeah, I mean, I think once you spend a lot of time indoors, on your own, I liken it to time travel. You move from one kind of scenario to the next, and everything in between is just, I think I should describe it as it's like corrupted data.
Right.
You can't really access that period of time in your life.
Yeah.
I got lots of blank spaces, I think. You know, even now I can remember what I did as a kid. Pre my accident, I can remember what happened as a child growing up, significant moments and all of that. But, you know, now my short-term memory is terrible. I have to write everything down.
Yeah.
You know, on my calendar on my phone, just basic stuff.
So it was great to hear to read in the book about your about Emma when she came into your life.
Emma, where do we start with Emma? Yeah, it's one of those things where you end up having a run of what I would say horrible luck, horrible experiences, to eventually when things start to turn around. And it's kind of as I was starting to turn my life around, Emma came along, which was a very welcome surprise. We met, as everybody in their middle ages does now, online. Sort of dedicated outdoor dating thing.
That's a brilliant idea, outdoor dating.
Yeah, and after chatting for maybe a few weeks, just getting to know each other online, we kind of discovered that not only do we live in the same town, we were the same age, we went to the same junior school, and we're in the same form at secondary school. That's the universe telling you something, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and she's just been amazing. She supports everything I do. She probably is, you know, instrumental in the creative aspect of writing the in such a way that she made me believe that I could do it, which I think is a great attribute in any relationship. So yeah, I probably don't tell her often enough how grateful I am. But
well, it certainly comes across in the book, mate.
Yeah, she's a fantastic person. Yeah, it's definitely a keeper.
Now, you did your trips to Scotland, you did the fan dance, but even that was only the beginning, because, well, you tell me, you signed up for a marathon.
Well, yeah.
With your backpack.
So it was one of those kind of like, you know, well, you will obviously understand what I'm talking about when you get to that, what am I going to do next situation. And I just thought, oh, could I run the London Marathon? Yeah. And then I kind of thought, the next thing, could I tab the London Marathon with a 40-pound pack? And then once that little idea had entered my head, that was it. So I was fortunate enough to be given a place in the marathon, in the 2023 London Marathon, by the Epilepsy Society, of which I helped raise money for. And then it was cue the Rocky music and get out training again. And it was an absolutely fantastic experience, which kind of bookends the book, really. So you start off having this accident, and then I thought I'd kind of really finish it on that high, you know. But what an amazing experience.
I can imagine.
It's a great event, and I shall remember that for the rest of my life, that day.
Yeah, I can imagine, mate.
I mean, I almost died.
Yeah.
I remember getting to the end and thinking, oh, yeah, that was probably a bit tougher than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's one of those. When I did guided endurance, the last 10K, what kept me going was I was promising myself, I'd say 30, if you complete this, you will never ever have to do this again. Yeah. I make you this solemn promise. And then I think within a month I signed up again, and I'm doing it in September.
Yeah, that's always the way, isn't it?
And now for a proper little lung buster. Surrey's answer to VW Valley. Job done.
That's a tough.
Good work, mate. That is a good old lung buster.
Tough at the end.
But the view was worth it.
Conkers, obviously they grow on trees, don't they?
Okay, let's go.
Do you have conker trees? Look, Tom.
So you want to go down that way?
They do go underground. I know, but you would...
Mate, it's been great chatting.
Oh, no, thanks for inviting me out. It's been brilliant. Thank you.
Check out Gareth's book, What the Rock Just Happened. Link will be in the description. And his YouTube channel, Big Grizzly Outdoors.
Thank you.
Bravo Golf Oscar.
Yep.
There'll be a link to that as well. And if you've enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. As always, see you in the hills.